Hi everyone. We've had some technical issues. You'll notice that Duncan is framed by Skype paraphernalia because the NDI sources decided to pack in, and it's high time that I started using OBS Ninja instead. Hi Duncan.
Oh, there's a Ninja, is there?
Yes, OBS Ninja is that's what the kids use. That's the thing.
Ah,
yeah.
We'll do what the kids do. I'm going to poo myself right now.
Poo myself and scream. That's what your child does, and it's time for you to jump on.
She does at the dinner table.
Well, that's living the dream in a lot of ways, isn't it? I think we've all thought about doing it. But...
I know. I actually said to my wife the other day, I was like, oh, I wonder what it would be like to actually, like, I can't recall just like sitting there and letting it go without. Anyway.
Well, I had this kind of conversation with my big brother today when we sat and saw my folks, and it was like, I know there are people that do it they do it on purpose, Lynn, but like pissing yourself on command, as far as I'm concerned, seems virtually impossible. I can't even with the fullest of. I had such a full bladder when I broke my leg, and I couldn't get up, and I just couldn't go in the fucking.
Oh, I had that,
cardboard piss box.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting catheterized. So hard it was to piss on command, and it wasn't even pissing myself on command. It was just have a really tight fucking.
I avoided
floor,
that.
I guess.
Yeah, they give you that those horrible, like, whatever they are. They look like a sort of, I don't know, like a cardboard box threw up in a, I don't know, whatever. But those things that you have to pee in.
Yeah, they're made out of all their paraphernalia. The kidney dish and stuff are made out of like that mashed cardboard.
Yeah, and well, after the car accident, I just could not go. Like you say, I was lying there. It didn't help that like I was in a ward, or I had a curtain around me, but I was like, there's loads of people around, and like someone could whip it back. And anyway,
as if they would, but that's what's in your head. I totally get it. We need to. Sorry, Callum Chung has said, how long did it take to get to the poo and wee talk? Not hating, just acknowledging. We are. We just spent 3 days. Well, Duncan 2 full days, and I did a bit of pickup yesterday. We just spent 3 days shooting the bulk of our short film Tuck You Bleed, and we had to talk about that as serious grown-up filmmakers, and it's straight into the poo and wee.
But we did spend those 3 days making fart jokes and saying poo and wee quite a lot.
Yes.
And all the poor souls who were sort of around us who weren't used to that fell in line beautifully. In fact, Mike took to it like a duck to water, I think. But then actors are quite like that.
I felt like he was stepping up for me whilst I was busy directing. I had you two in my ear doing fart jokes and stuff. Yes, so for my part, Duncan, So, well, what we did, we're filming at the Centre for Computing History in Cambridge, the Computer Museum, and Jason Fitzpatrick and team have very kindly let us use that as a location. I wrote the film based around that location, for Duncan to star in and produce. So it was always intended to be thus. And we did 12 hours on Monday, 8 till 8. And we did 16 hours on Tuesday, 8 till midnight. And then yesterday I went in with Laura, AD, Liz, who's yet to be given a title but has just done everything, and Simon, who's AC, to get pickups. So I did another 6 hours yesterday. And I feel broken. Like the reason I'm on the webcam today is like I'm not touching a camera. I refuse. I refuse to touch a camera.
Yeah, I don't blame you, mate. It's look, I mean, that was a very intensive shoot, really, especially as well, given we were running a skeleton crew and shooting in an area, shooting without everything you need really to make a thing like that. But you were amazing. You really stepped up and freaking delivered, man. And I think it will be worth it. It's one of those all right, if we had the luxury, I guess we'd have gone for.
That was the phrase.
More like a 4 or 5 day.
I think I said that's a luxury a lot. And the phrase,
yeah.
Which I never thought I'd be like this, but the phrase "kill your darlings," our set was littered with 10-foot high piles of dead darlings that I'd slaughtered all the way through. Should we just give a kind of outline and then people can ask us questions and stuff?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because I just think we've been so mysterious about it. I think for the most part, people just generally don't know what it is, and I think we should probably just talk about it. So Bill Bosser approached. About a year ago, I was developing kind of a short documentary about COVID, which sounds like a hoot in retrospect. And Bill Bosser approached me and said, "Hey, you can have this small amount of money to finish it." And owing to kind of my personal circumstances and stuff, that never came off. And he approached me a little while later, and he said, "Look, you can have that money to make." And this is really amazing. Like he said, you can have that money to make whatever you want. And I thought to myself, I once heard this is best intentions gone awry. I once had someone say, if you have a police car, make a film about a police car because you had production value. And I thought, well, the Computer Museum is very close to me. I know the people who work there. Duncan's an actor and producer, so I'm going to make a film in the Computer Museum starring Duncan. And initially, it was supposed to star myself and Duncan to save money. We ended up using the wonderful Michael Geary instead as the other role in the film. So it's a two-hander. It's a sci-fi horror film, sci-fi horror short, about 15-20 minutes long, we hope, starring Duncan and Mike Geary. I'm tempted to call it sci-fi horror comedy because it is quite comic. It's got comedy elements in it, but it's not like The Evil Dead or anything like that. So yeah, that was it. I wrote it. I pitched it to Bill. Bill liked it. We got the go-ahead. I recruited Liam Taylor of The Conversation Hat to do the music. I then approached Laura Elmer to be AD for us, and then brought on Simon Callahan, is one of my oldest friends, as AC. It was originally going to be the Mighty Scott Sartain, but he couldn't make it. And then my friend Liz saw the teaser trailer and the Instagram stuff and was just like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Because Liz is one of my old buddies and she really loves horror. Doesn't really have any film experience, but she came on and absolutely kicked ass as well. And we haven't really decided what her role is yet, in retrospect.
Locations manager, I think, is what her official title is going to be.
That sounded good from what you said. I was kind of cool with that. That sounded, considering what she did.
Bill's in the chat. He says, "Small amount of money."
For film terms, I guess it's actually by my terms a lot of money. And so Sanjay Dokia made our prop.
Yeah.
And Gary Smart made additional props, which I'm not going to get into. You have to watch the film to know about that. Can I give do you think, is it okay to give like a one-line synopsis?
I think so.
Okay, I'll try and keep it short. So, a computer museum is looking after a legendary computer from Russia that's the center of kind of an urban legend and a creepypasta, and they're allowed to have it in their museum for 1 month under the condition that it's guarded 24/7, and the museum half-arse hiring a security guard from Gumtree, and spookiness occurs, and that's the most I can really say. So Sanjay built the computer, which is called the Jupiter P55. So it's about this kind of, I don't want to say haunted computer, but a kind of infernal computer. And it's called Type G Bleed, as I explained to Duncan. Type G Bleed is a kind of, the old text adventure games and the Sierra Online games were often referred to as Type G Bleed games back in the day, as far as I'm concerned. and I wanted it to be about an evil text adventure. And when I looked up the term "Touch You Bleed," even the mighty Larry Bundy didn't remember the term. I've looked on Google; it does exist, but everyone's forgot it. So I thought, brilliant! What a great kind of trashy horror title. So I've nicked it, and it's mine now. It's like a disused house that I'm squatting in. I've taken the term "Touch You Bleed." So there you go.
Nice. There you go.
Benny Legend says, "Does Ivan make a cameo?" And actually, he does. Yeah, technically. So yes, there you go. And Duncan, would you like to say some words from your face?
My face. Yeah, no. It's one of those. I think, from my perspective, I think I've spoken about this a lot when people have asked me advice about getting into the industry, whether whatever end of it they want to get into. Yeah, I always say, like, you're probably more resourced than you think you are, and I've seen time and time again now beautiful examples of that, and this is another one of them where it's like we were really lucky, we were able to pull on a lot of people around us to make it work, to make it happen, and I think that it's going to have production values way above its budget, and it's punching insanely high above its weight. In fact, Rob, I think you're in the chat, Rob. I need to get in touch with you about post-production.
I've shot the plates.
Yes.
So I can I need to send those over if you want.
Yes. What I'll do is put together a little package for you, Rob, and I'll send you it all over, and you can take a look and see what you think. But we'd really appreciate that. But this really is because I think we sort of talked, didn't we, about what sort of what umbrella we would do this under, and then I thought, well, it really does have to be a Val Verde broadcasting production, because so much of it has come from the community, and it's us too as well. So I think that's a really nice thing to sort of see it as a sort of a thing that was made with this community and everything. So and it will go around film festivals and it will do all that business, but I think eventually it will end up here. I think it needs to kind of go on the channel.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, exactly. We have to. We're not allowed to. Ironically, broadcast is what most festivals don't want first. So we're going to have to do all that first, and then we will put it on the channel eventually. And for Patreon, we'll do little extras and things like that. So we can't put it. It's going to be later rather than sooner, sadly, because we want to get it out kind of through the festivals and things. In a kind of ideal dream scenario, I would love to do a Val Verde screening somewhere. That would be beautiful. But I'm not going to make any promises right now because of everything going on. Oh, Mike Geary's in the chat, and he says, "When am I allowed to leave the Travelodge?" Good old Michael Geary. I've been here for 4 days. That's our co-star Michael Geary, who did such a wonderful job of the character. I created it lazily for myself because I was being cheap, but when I said to Duncan, I'm not going to do this, he said Mike Geary, and I didn't really know Mike, but I knew of Mike and I'd met him, and I was just like, oh fuck, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect for what I have in mind for that character. And his first scenes were some of the comedy stuff, and it was just, we were losing it a little bit. It's huffing our own farts.
Highly unprofessional. I corpsed far too many times.
That was wonderful. He's the master of the long pause. It's
just there's basically a bit where I had to maintain eye contact with him, and it was over a comedy beat, and it's so hard. It's so hard, but we got it. You
did, yeah, and it's worth it. Simon's lighting. Simon just says acting. Simon is a photographer. Simon and I have been friends for years and years and years. I brought Simon in to help with lighting, and he did a wonderful, wonderful job. Particularly that first scene with you guys, we did a kind of golden hour scene.
Mike says, "It's in my shoes."
Wow. So Duncan had to eat like really lots of Haribo on day 2 because his character is munching on a bag of Haribo, and he had to eat far too much Haribo. Someone did ask. Callum Chung has actually got a question. That sounds really cool. Did you have any inspirations for it? Sorry for that being a question you probably heard way too much. No, I've talked about it endlessly, and Duncan's about to tune out, so I'm going to talk about it again. Someone did mention Electric Dreams, like things like Electric Dreams, and I'm not joking about that either, because that's like a love triangle. And this is a little bit, if you look, it is a little bit like Electric Dreams. Electric Dreams and War Games are the great kind of tactile technology people involved with computers movies, and I actually looked at those from a technical perspective to see how you would cover someone looking at a CRT monitor in film in order to make that technically possible. The other thing that I'm really, really going in for is Italian horror, which I've talked about endlessly. And I've looked at, for example, the lighting scheme in Dario Argento's Suspiria. Very, very important to the look of this film. There are certain sections that have that hyper giallo look. There's loads of giallo elements in it. There's loads of giallo references. So I'm in that pool of kind of like Bruno Mattei or Lucio Fulci. Like my lazy encapsulation is like Lucio Fulci directs an episode of Black Mirror for a low budget. It's the British anthology thing as well. It's a bit like the Amicus or the horror thing, Amicus or the Hammer things. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be kind of like a little bit cheesy, a little bit kind of funny, kind of grim. Kind of anthology horror stuff. I've had so Goblin and Fabio Frinzi's music were really in my mind, and I sent those to Liam for his compositions, and he's done the early parts of the music we've heard are really good. I'm deliberately avoiding the 80s synthwave thing because I think it's horribly overplayed, and I've actually done this thing that's sort of anti-nostalgia but is also paying homage to a thing. And I know, well, that's hypocritical. It's like, well, check this out, because people like to say, oh, I'm sick of this nostalgia stuff, but they go, well, you like things from the past. Check it out. That sentence was from the past. Everything's from the past, actually, from the perspective of now. So, thematically, it's got that kind of stuff in it. So it has some quite sort of strong influences going into it. Mike James Harris says, "Will this be 18/R rated? And if so, will it be because it may be gory?" Do you want to answer that?
If we were to ever to get to a stage where the BBFC were to give it a rating,
if we could afford to have it rated,
then probably yes. But I mean, in this sense, yes, it is quite gory. Certainly,
Do you know what though? I would say it's not. Graphic.
It is gory.
It's gory, but it's not graphic. There's a lot of blood in it, I think.
Yeah,
but it's not because I've done the kind of There is some gross. There's a gross stuff in it, but I haven't. Like, we didn't go for. It's like the Janet Leigh, like in Psycho, you think you've seen nudity and stabbing when you've actually seen neither. And it's kind of like that. I think a lot of it's suggested. The horror in it is kind of the horror is more implied, and it's kind of situational. It's really hard to, it's really funny trying to not spoil a movie that barely anyone's going to see. But we want you, because it's like, because Duncan said, like it's a project that sort of comes from the community in a lot of ways. So you're our audience really, and we don't want to spoil it for you. Because of that, some of our audience know the script and stuff. Like Bill, who's in the chat, who is a Val Verdean, paid to get it made. So he's seen the script. Weirdly, who'd have thought?
No, you can't see it.
No, you're not allowed. Just give me the money. Trust us. So it was intense. We had a short shooting schedule. I think the issue I had was I had to do the shot list and the storyboard, but I kept getting delayed by my actual work, and then we got the storyboard and shot listing quite late, and it was ambitious, but I'm quite used to those, and I would like to, or any of the crew that are watching, I'm very, very sorry, because you put in so much hard work, and part of that was because I did things a bit last minute, and we had this insane ambitious thing. But I'm so used to, on my commercial jobs, being under that kind of it, because like when it's like, oh yeah, we can't do that, you get a big shot list, but it's for a client, and you just say yes and you just do it. And I'm kind of perhaps unfairly applied that to the rest of the crew, which I'm regretful and sorry for.
No, come on, man. This is the thing of being a director, though. You've kind of got to power through all that, I think, and just say, that's what I need. That's what I need to go and get. Let's make it happen. And same thing with producing. I don't like, I always feel a bit harsh at times, and especially with people who've not ever set foot on a film set before. It's very hard because and everyone took to it, like ducks to water, really. But it is hard. People understanding like what's needed, what's needed in the moment, and and what's not needed. Sometimes you don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to grab it and get it done. So,
I think there was a lot of being sensible, wasn't there? There are certain things that I would have preferred to have covered in a different way, but it was just like, that's not going to happen. We just have to keep moving.
Yeah.
I think I was quite good at kind of cracking the whip. I wasn't sitting around just like, no, fuck it, too bad. So I had all these highfalutin ideas about visual shit. I did a lot of art design. I did loads of art design for the movie, and I created props and stuff because I knew exactly what I wanted in certain ways. And certain things were supposed to be focused on, and they perhaps aren't in the finished product because we just didn't have time. And it's like, well, I just want to have this movie. There's certain visual motifs. Worms T17 has a question for you. What was the hardest thing to do while filming this without giving away any spoilers?
Probably not laughing at Mike when during that eye contact scene. That was probably the hardest.
That was like the first scene you guys did together.
Yeah, but it was such a joy. I mean, like, I've wanted to work with Mike for ages, and it was a real pleasure to do that. And it makes such a difference as well. Like, I think it makes a huge difference when you have someone who's that good, and it's like it just elevates. Like, I mean, you all were, but it's like having that around you, that sort of collaborative thing, and that it just elevates everything. But yeah, probably trying to keep a straight face while doing that. I'm trying to think what else. There wasn't anything too arduous. I had to do a couple of stunt falls.
You did. You took some wax, mate. You took some wax. I sent your big stunt fall to Mark, and he's like, "Shit, he takes a fall, doesn't he?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Well, you've seen it. You've seen it before I did." Like,
yeah. Well, a Fistful of Lead. I think I can't remember if I did any, but the thing is, I start the film having been shot, so there wasn't really an awful lot of. There's one or two fallovers. Yeah, no, I did learn a bit. Like, it's like Erica. I had one day on an Erica of like intense fighting stuff. And with Holly, who is she's what's a kind of word for diminutive? No, she's not diminutive.
Diminutive is the kindest way to say diminutive, I'd say.
Yeah, she's a small but incredibly powerful young lady, and she, I think, did something to my ribs and or internal organs. There's a scene basically where I had to like grab her, throw her into a wall, and then but actually you don't, because what you do is you grab them and they push themselves into the wall, but it looked like I threw her against the wall. And she like proper like what's that called, like palmed me basically in the chest, right. And busted something up fierce in there.
Jesus,
and then I had to spend the rest of the day like falling over, and it's hard to do like when you have to fall over backwards, but I knack for it now. So yeah, you always hurt. It always hurts. Like, you always get like
you really went for it, and we had to do it a few times because that was an interesting setup. Because I've done it's very lighting heavy movie, right? And that required a lighting change. And I remember for that shot we had to flood the scene with red, so we had these red lamps ready. So we had Liz and Max operating two lights. Then we had someone else on the other side. I think it was Simon getting ready to turn off all the gallery lights, and then I had to go now, so everybody synced when your ass hit the floor. It was just really great, really great bit. I'm going to whip through some questions because they come in thick and fast. Richard, are you editing yourself on this short? Says James Harris. Yes, James, I am. I've uploaded the footage to my RAID drive already. Any reason this wasn't posted to Patreon today, guys? Says Music Related Candy. Appreciate it might have been impromptu. Yeah, we came up with this kind of last minute because we're both kind of burnt out. I'm going to do some exclusive, my series, So You Want to Be a Filmmaker, is going to carry on. I'm going to talk about this movie for the next episode as soon as I can for you all. I just looked there because I usually have the Black Magic out, but I don't today, and I should be looking here. Okay, let's go. Sean Northridge just gave €5. Thank you, Sean. We'll get to your question in a moment, or your statement.
6 years.
6 years, pardon me. Will it have a Cronenberg body / tech horror element to it, for example, Videodrome? Yes, it does have a kind of Cronenbergian vibe to it without saying too much. Is the sheet wrapped now, says Rob? Not quite. We have one more scene to pick up with Duncan, and I'm just arranging the logistics of that at the moment. Mike Garside says, how many Dread references? Not overt ones. They're actually sort of incidental to the Dread stuff, because I had to costume with loads of badges, and I only own 2000 AD related badges, so they're not that obvious. Though I did sneak in a reference to the Apocalypse War, and I'll give someone a bag of bananas if they can find it.
A bag of bananas?
I don't know what that means. I heard Richard Smackdown and there. How long is it going to be? We're talking 50 to 20 minutes, aren't we, to get into the film festival?
Yeah.
So that's that. Richard, what software are you using? Premiere. Use Adobe Premiere. I'm going to handle some of the VFX myself. Well, a fair old bit myself in terms of animation. That's going to be After Effects. Broke your Skellington. How big was the crew on shoot? Was it a single camera setup? Says Music Related Candy. Yeah, so myself, Laura, Simon, Liz. So really crew of 4 and 2 actors, but the 2 actors helped out a lot just logistically because we're such a small crew. And Max, who is the son of Jason, who runs the museum, he helped out briefly as well for a bit of stagehanding. And Liz's boyfriend Mike popped in for a little bit and gave donuts. So it depends if you include that. Sean, glad to see you survived the horrors of creativity. What did you write the script in? Final draft or or something else? Celtex. There's a piece of software called Celtex that I used to use at uni for screenwriting, which has now turned into a cloud service, and I wrote it on Celtex. It's good free software.
I just wrote that down actually, Celtex, because I used another one before, but it left watermarks all over it, and she paid for it. So.
All right, so I'm going to read Simon. Simon is part of the crew, but I'm going to read Simon's question because I like it. Question for both: what is it like wearing multiple hats on set, acting and producing, directing, and script supervisor / time constraint warrior / cinematographer? So actually, I would say a lot of the script supervisor stuff, I cannot praise Laura and Liz enough. And Laura did loads of prep before she even got on set, and she turned up like she'd done a shooting script and I hadn't. And she'd done all this stuff. Laura turned up with a little fucking plastic clock, and she was constantly standing there with the clipboard going like, we have to start in 5 minutes. And then she'd be like, we've had 10 minutes to do this. And there was one moment where I was going to compromise on a really important moment, and she stopped me and she said to me, this scene is really important for your audience, and it's really important to establish what's going on in this character's head. And if you change that, that's going to be lost. And I was just like, because she fully challenged me on this really important moment. I think it's a point when we were the most pissed off probably the whole day, which didn't happen much. And I was like, fuck, yeah, shit, like that's amazing. She was already amazing, but I was like, that's fucking amazing, like thank you. If you weren't here I would have just half-assed this, which was really good, so I got to give her credit for that. Also Simon, again, I keep apologising to Simon, one of my oldest friends. I was consistently rude to him the last couple of days. I feel terrible about it. So there you go.
No, acting and producing is I've done it before a few times. It's because I think I said to you from the outset, I said I don't mind producing, but I really don't want to line produce, which is essentially sort of running the production on the day. But then, as it turned out, that's basically what I had to do because I just did. There was no other way around it. So,
I think we all ended up doing more than we expected. I think we all ended up saying, because you were essentially line producing as well as producing.
Which is fine, but it is a bit like, you have to kind of remember to order food for everyone and, make sure that there's other stuff there and blah, 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 and kind of keep an eye on logistics and costume and who needs what, who needs room booking, who needs transport, etc. But it's, it's on a thing like that, it's not a big deal. It's not like running a feature production with tons of personnel and everything like that. It's just it would have been lovely
to have more, wouldn't it, if we could have done.
Yeah, of course. The main thing is sort of making sure that everyone feels looked after well enough, because I think that for me is like on a thing like this really important, where it's your sort of friends helping out and do all that and being giving of their time and everything. That's like Simon and so we paid Simon in abuse. And,
bless it, I know, because Simon are awful to each other constantly. It's kind of our thing, but like Simon looked after me when I broke my leg, for example, and we've been pals for years and stuff. And then there's quite a lot of stop messing around with the lights and just being rude to Simon, which I feel really bad about.
Christian bailing, we call it.
Yes. Weirdly enough, because I do watch Shane Helbert's YouTube channel, and Shane Helbert is the DOP that Christian Bale shouted at. And he's a really great DOP, and he has a channel called Helbert Academy, and if you want to learn about lighting, please go watch Helbert Academy. Like, really great channel. But he is the guy, and I kept thinking that's really funny, ha ha ha. And then I remember shouting at Simon and going like, oh no. That guy now. And like Liz is just one of my pals, and she wanted to come help out, and we were like, yeah, shoot some behind the scenes. And then Liz become my sort of like, she's really, because Liz just knows me and she knows what I'm like. and I always just try and do too many things at once. I'm very bad at just focusing on one thing. I always wanted, and she, it's just her going to me like, "That's not your job. Go back over there." It's like, "Oh, has anyone seen the tape?" And I'd be like, "Oh, there's boobs over there." And she'd be like, "No, go over there. Go and direct." And it'd be like, "Okay," which was it was really amazing to have. Like, Simon and Liz are both sort of inside my head because they know me well. Laura's just like this amazingly together fucking AD. She just totally smashed it. It was so good. I mean, because it was tough, man. It was a really tough shoot. It was arduous, but we all had a laugh. Like, it was constantly joking and fucking about. Well, not fucking about, actually, just working. But you know, like lots of Alan Partridge voices and shit all the way through.
I think that sort of thing is more important than you realize, you know, because you can very quickly become ensconced in the stress of it all, and it takes its toll. You know, it takes its toll energetically, physically, all sorts of stuff. And by the end of it, you know, you just don't have time for anything, you know, and you get very like, come on, like, you know, and impatient, and it's tough. Like, it is tough. So to have that sort of levity and to remember that we're all human and, you know, we're all trying to do the same thing here and blah blah blah. It's nice. It was really nice. It worked really well, and I think everyone really, you know, came to play in a really lovely way.
So I think people like what has been. Oh, I just spit ice over it. What's been
Hell was that?
That was ice going over my laptop.
Okay.
Drink. Everyone sort of really believed in it and kind of got it. People understood the story. I think everybody we showed it to, everyone we asked, kind of just got it and understood it and liked the story and wanted to be part of it and were passionate about it. And you know, like Sanjay did like this amazing job making our main prop. That's really important. Gary did an amazing job as well with his prop.
Gary and Sanjay made the most important.
There's no movie without those two.
No,
there's no movie because it's a prop based thing. So the questions are coming in really quick. Richard, yes. Did you watch any short films as prep? Not as prep, but there are a bunch of ones I like. It's kind of a bit nebulous about short films, but there's a movie called Proctor, which is about a man watching screens that I like very much, which kind of was on my mind. Carl Goddard, good OG Valverdean. Richard, does Duncan take good direction? Duncan, does Richard mind improv? Would you like to start? There was not much room for improv because of time constraints. I would have like Mike Geary talked to me about like, I've got some ideas. We just didn't have time, did we? Because of the way
Mike and I improv. We came up with it. It wasn't improv, but we were running lines on a small scene that's part of a bigger scene, and we came up with I think quite a funny little gag to do over it. But we just that was one that unfortunately we couldn't get. But I think you don't mind improv. I think you're pretty open.
No, I don't. I was. It's a real shame because when I Skyped with Mike, he was about like, "Oh yeah, I've come up with some ideas already based on your script," and I was just like, "Dude, man, please!" Like, and I had it in my head. We'd all be standing around going like, what could we decide?" But naturally, it's just like, "Okay, that's good enough. Let's move." Was the thing I found was working with Duncan and I rent space in each other's heads. And Duncan saw this, one of the first people to see the script, and I knew Duncan kind of got it. And we did a little work on the day finding your character, didn't we? But I think you just kind of knew, you know what I'm like, you know what I'm trying to say. I wrote it for you because I knew you would fit this character. And being a kind of professional actor, you and Mike being professional actors, it's not like when you're younger and you film with your mates and you have to prompt them. I don't think you guys very rarely forgot dialogue or fluffed or anything, and because of the time constraints, you two have great chemistry as well, so you would do your thing and I'd just be like, great, fine. And every now and then, because the actors don't want to watch fucking playback ever, so normally I'd show the playback to Liz, Laura and Simon and say like, guys, what are you thinking? And we'd just move on. So like, you know, in a more luxurious situation, we perhaps would have indulged that a bit more, and I would have liked to have indulged that. In terms of the first day was more or less dialogue free, and it was all Duncan on his own, and it was just like, dude, you would do your thing. We'd look down the lens. I'd be like, okay, I might take one. Like, I don't want to sound like Edward, but like it was like if it was a real rush, it was like if it was a non-dialogue thing, you would do the kind of character beat or whatever, non-dialogue, non-verbal, and we'd take one for safety. But quite often you'd nail it on the first hit, and we were just about moving on because we did everything about lighting setups. The whole schedule was about lighting setups. So like, this will take place at night. Duncan's costume was about top half changes, so he would just change and you go into the next scene. He'd have to change his emotional state and everything. And I looked through some of the dailies, and it really shows, because your day 3 stuff is when you're all kind of a bit out of it, and your day 1 is just like you're just a football dickhead. And the differences are in there. Leonard Leone says, how many characters? Just 2. Just two. It's very minimal. Wincoming Exchange says, "Here's a fiver for my folded poster and knackered copy. Cheers, lads. Most welcome. It's in the post."
Very good.
Richard, didn't you speak earlier on about taking a small role in the film? Did that happen, or did you change it? Yeah, I was supposed to be the other main character, and that was purely out of cheapness. And I was just like, dude, no, they can't be. They can't be. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's not going to happen. And I'm glad. I can't imagine what the last 3 days would have been like if I'd tried that. It would have been fucking awful. A fucking complete train wreck.
Yeah, I don't know how you would have done that.
I can't learn but thing is, right, I have kind of acted in my little comedy things. Yeah, but I'm not an actor. It's like the difference between a butcher and a surgeon. Like, I'm shit at learning lines. Yeah, I don't know this. I don't know stagecraft at all. Like, there's absolutely no way I could have done it in retrospect. It was all about being cheap.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I guess I've had the cumulative years now of experience. And I was very happy because this is the first thing I've really done since lockdown, where I've been properly on camera. I've been acting, I've done voiceover stuff, and I've done a few corporates that were sort of filmed over Zoom kind of thing. I mean, they were filmed using my camera and lighting and everything, but it was supposed to look like it was over Zoom kind of thing. But this was the first thing I'd done with the camera, and I was like, oh my God, am I going to be like, is it going to take me ages to get back into it? Am I going to be rusty? And I, may have been, I don't know, but I didn't feel it. Like, there were a few things, like there was a slider shot I think you did of one of the first shots, and it was like, you've got to, by this point, get up and move. So it was like before the slides, it was like,
oh, but you smashed that. I think we did that multiple times, but you smashed it, because I think the first time I just said it needs to be there, and you did it brilliantly the first time, but for the second one, could you put your hand there? And I was like, yeah, of course, no problem. And meaning, it's those kind of little bits of skill that you pick up, like, without looking at it, and I was kind of like, oh, I did it, and I was like, yes, okay, good, still got it. No, mate, you were. This is the thing. Yeah, because I've done so much stuff. When I was younger, I used to do this thing with my mates and stuff. Someone just asked if there are any cameos in the film. The cameos are little. I've put some of my mates in background details. I've put some of my friends in the background, not as actors, as photographs or whatever. So, did Duncan have any diva demands? Says Doug Wonnacott. Nah, man. Duncan and I was so, because we're the ones getting it made. Like, Duncan was line producing and ordering the food and shit. Like, I don't think he's in a position to have diva demands.
Well, if I did, I could just demand them of myself.
Demand them of yourself, exactly. Yeah, it's the old go to a brothel and have a wank. Have a dog bark yourself.
that old chestnut.
That old chestnut, just like Dad used to say. Floyd Dillon, are there any Alan Partridge references? And did Duncan manage to sneakily shoehorn in a Bond reference? The Alan Partridge stuff. I remember there's the night when we ordered Chinese and we just sat around and talked about. We all sat around in a circle and talked about Alan Partridge in front of the reception desk. That was and just constantly. Duncan used the one quite a lot, but again, it's fine to join in.
I don't think she heard it, but I was particularly proud of when you were talking about insurance. And Liz said something, and I was like, "No offense, Liz."
No offense, Liz.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. Oh no, take it. This is not what I'm going to say yet. See, no offense, Liz, but technically, your life isn't worth insuring.
Yes, yeah, I loved that because again, much like just now, when I heard you say "no offense, Liz," I ruined it by laughing very loudly. So that's brilliant. Great banter. James Harris, Richard, would this be a one-off with you and Duncan making films? Did you consider this to be start of more titles together in the pipeline? I would very, very much like this to be the first of many, and I would also like to get the same crew back. And Mike, I'd love to do more. I'd love to do more and get more money and plan it better. My fault, sorry.
No. Firstly, stop saying sorry. Secondly, dude. I mean, I think this is the point of this. Really, is to expand you as a filmmaker primarily. I think this is what I said. I said this to Bill. Really, because it's important when you make anything to know exactly what it's. To have a clear end goal. And an audience in mind, because otherwise you'll end up making a mess. So it was very clear, to me to say, well, this short films don't make money. They're not about making money. They're about a calling card is often the phrase used, but really it's about proof of concept for a filmmaker. So it's like, can you conceive of, write, and deliver a film? Yes. And if you can do that, and it goes into festivals and does well and all that, and gets acclaim, then it puts you on a path to be doing bigger things. And I think
this was always a career move. We always said from the beginning that this is a career move. This is the thing to show, because you've done tons of acting, so less so for you, but definitely for me, it was like we could do this thing as a team, because I wouldn't have. There's no way like I would have written this with anyone else in mind, or would have made it with anybody else. But obviously, like, come on, like, and I think I'd like to think that the thing that I've had, I've had years and years and years of studying film and filmmakers, and I've worked as a filmmaker in the commercial arena for like 5 years now. And one thing I've become aware of recently is just like that the hardest thing is putting what's in your brain into everyone else's brain, because you're all trying to get the same thing, and people seem to get it. And when I spoke about what we were trying to do in the influences, and again that moment, so like someone such as Liz and I have the same pool of references and kind of grotty horror stuff, so she got all that kind of shit. Like, you kind of got the actor stuff, Simon got the lighting stuff, Laura got the emotive stuff, what I was trying to do, you know what I mean? And Mike, I had a good old chat with Mike. He kind of tunes in. Mike, when I turned up on set, like Mike was on Mike's first day, Mike was talking to Jason, the director of the museum, in the car park waiting for us, and they were talking about like obscure computer history stuff. And I was like, I already knew Mike got it, but I was like, oh yeah, you fucking, because that's another thing, like, I'm really invested in computing history. Cambridge, sorry, I'll stop listening. Cambridge is like really important in the world of computing history. It's got references to the world of computing history. I'm genuinely interested in, knowledgeable and passionate about old computers, but also grotty Italian horror films and 2000 AD and Tales of the Unexpected in the Twilight Zone. So it's all these things at once, like and it was trying to get that into everybody's head. And I think people sort of got it. Like, my storyboard was very detailed and thick. It was like 65 pages long. And everyone just kind of went, "Oh my god, we're all gonna die! What the fuck was this?"
Bill asked, "Was it hard not to rehearse with Mike?" No. I mean, obviously you would have loved to have, but Mike's a pro. Like, this is what you do, especially on film and TV. You don't rehearse. Not really. You rehearse on the day when you're blocking, and that's it. So no, he came prepared. He was
both of you. It was just like, if I could turn up, both of you the lines. You would, like, when we were doing setups, because I would quite often, if I had to do a thing, I'd go, "Hey Simon, I want dusk. Hey Simon, I want a nighttime scene." They come and make some tweaks. Well, I'll be running off doing something else, and then you guys will be running lines in the background, and you just had it. Like, apart from the corpsing on Mike's first morning, you guys just had it, which was just such a fucking relief to me, because I think it was kind of, we did a few shot reverse shot and stuff, and I had to bin some of the shot reverse shot and go handheld for time, but some of the more important comedy stuff we got shot reverse shot as written. Yeah, and you two were just fucking on it, and it's just like, look, we've got professional actors. But it was such a difference. Music Related Candy says, will you be releasing any making of behind the scenes material? Yes, I'm very, very into that. Liz was just going to do our behind the scenes stuff, and then she ended up like being like location manager. So we didn't get as much that we'd like. Simon filmed a bunch on his phone that we'll use. I would really like, ideally, I haven't really expressed this to anybody else, I'd really like to shoot some interviews about everyone's role and put together a thing, because I kind of figured if we did a screening, firstly, there would be that as part of it, and also just for us. And I do video production for a job, so it'd be good to just go and catch that. So I would. So Colin McLean, does it mean there'll be a blooper / gag reel? Definitely, there's loads. Well, not many bloopers actually. There was the corpsing, but what's funny is the little bits of off cut, little kind of off cut. The before and after, before the clapper and after the cut. There's loads of funny little things. Oh. It would appear that Liz has registered Type 2 Bleed Film as a YouTube channel and is now in the chat. So I'm going to make Type 2 Bleed a moderator of Val Verde Broadcasting. That seems like a safe bet. Unless it's some kind of,
Bot.
Yeah, bot. Doug Wanacott, this is something I want to answer. If you don't mind, I'm going to throw this to you, Doug, because I feel like I'm talking too much.
Okay.
But I have reasons for this. And Doug qualifies this. If all goes well with this, good luck, by the way. Would you consider crowdfunding a feature film? Genuine question, not trying to bring up Skellingtons from the past. And again, with not wanting to discuss past Skellingtons, I mean, we've talked about our opinions of crowdfunding a little bit, haven't we? But I mean, we're fairly tepid on that. I'm not saying we'd never do it. I think we're both fairly tepid on that as a thing.
Yeah, I would seek to avoid it, and I have avenues of funding that I would probably favour. I think if we were to look at doing a feature, and I would also look at connecting up with distributors and stuff ahead of time. But no, I mean, no, I don't think so. It's not a, it just isn't a. What's the word?
I'm not. Look, we had our bad experience with it.
Yeah, no, but it's not.
That's
it's not
but
what
unrelated to that.
It's not really what filmmakers do.
No, you do that to get noticed, and I get that.
Yeah,
I'm kind of against it. I kind of feel like there is, in a way, it's a bit of a poison chalice because you see people do those and they kind of fuck them up or whatever, and there's no accountability for it. And I would rather be accountable to an exec like we are on this than just out in the wild with a big, if you suddenly get 100 grand in your fucking PayPal. Or 200 grand, 500 grand in your PayPal. Like, that's not the same as having an exec producer. And I think what happens with a lot of those projects is, and there's been many, many wonderful crowdfunded projects, some of which I participated in. Icon was a crowdfunded project, but those guys are super together. If you don't have someone to answer to, it's just a big, loosely assembled pool of other people's money.
But it's not just that. It's the fact that if you go to proper film funding money, you'll get connected as well on the other end. A lot of that money tends to, because these people don't want to just throw money into a black hole, they will usually be, if they're part of a film fund or something, they will have connections to distribution, sales agents, all that stuff. It tends to come with a lot more connections, assurances. There's reasons why things like this, shorts, absolutely. If it's something for YouTube, then I guess but I mean, you've got to try and remember that, and it is difficult because I get it, because Richard and I tune in every Thursday and say bum on the internet for 2 hours or whatever, but we are professional filmmakers, and there is a side to that isn't it seems sort of incongruous to a lot of people with being a YouTuber or whatever. I mean, I don't really think of myself as a YouTuber, but that's how you guys know us, I suppose. But it's different. It's just different. If you're making a feature film and the idea is to sell it, then you go a different way. You don't do crowdfunding.
It seems like we would prefer this to sort of. It's really difficult to phrase this, but I just have a bit of. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. It's really hard. Well, I just don't want to sound like a cunt, but I just want it to have a kind of legitimacy to it and professionalism to it. So it seems, that sounds really dreadful, doesn't it? Because
you can do it. You can do it. Put it that
of
way.
Course.
People
and
do it.
Again,
do it.
Hey, look, Icon was a crowdfunding movie, and I'm DOP on that.
That's a thing where people wanted to see a very specific thing told, and they paid for it. They essentially paid for it ahead of time. That's fair enough. We're not talking about that though. We're talking about making feature films and like narrative film and all sorts of stuff, and it's different. It's just different. You're talking about a product that's.
I want to just really quickly. So Lewis Taylor made Sleep Tight, which we talked about on this channel. Lewis crowdfunded that, and the thing is with what Lewis did, Lewis made quite a modest amount of money. It was like a few grand, and said, "I just need a few grand to go and make the film," and he did it, and he delivered it, and he's had it around the festivals, and it's done very well.
It's a short.
It's a short. Yes, it's a short. Yeah. It's a short, not rather than a feature.
Yeah.
So that totally exists, and we're not like just dunking on crowdfunding. That's not that. That's not.
No, God, no. I mean, if you're talking about, you said a feature film. When you say a feature film, I'm assuming you mean a feature length movie that is going to potentially go in cinemas. If you're at that end of what you're making, then or on streaming services, but either way, there's more to it than simply having the money to go and make it, because that doesn't actually guarantee you anything. So That's what I
more
mean.
to it than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and crowdfunding. We could sit there and make £1 million on crowdfunding and go and make a film, but it wouldn't. It would be.
It feels like some weird kind of money fart, doesn't it? It's not like it doesn't feel like. I think there should be someone at the top asking what's going on, because like Bill, Bill, who's paying for this, was sort of like, guys, do you have time to film this? Is this scheduled too much? Like, are you doing social media? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do we need to do the credits? Do we do IMDb? Look, there's someone there. Like when you just have an amorphous pile of money and a bunch of commenters on an Indiegogo page, it's not really the same. I'm not saying that we need to be, it's not saying we require external discipline. I'm just saying it doesn't seem.
I think also you do potentially set yourself up for a fall when you're the YouTubers what got a bunch of money out of their audience to make something. That product is going to be viewed on in a very different light to people who went out and achieved funding through official, like movie.
Film funds, whatever.
However it was. But if you were invested in by private individuals or companies, that's a whole other thing. And because really, what you're saying, if you're going to make something that ultimately is going to go out on a few DVDs and end up on YouTube, that's not how we would want to release something, and that's not how we would want to be viewed, I don't think. So anyway, there you go. That was a very long.
No, but I think I was moving to Carl Goddard real quickly. I'll just say this. I did mention at the top of the stream, Carl, but I'll say it again. Will it have a score? Do you have a composer in mind, or will it be source music? Yeah. So Liam Taylor, you can find him as at LT Guitar on I think YouTube and Twitter. Who lives a mere half-mile from my front door, as does Laura. So we were very, apart from Duncan and Mike, are very Cambridge-focused, and Simon, to be fair, who's has a base in Cambridge, very Cambridge-focused crew. Liam is doing the score. I spoke to Liam. I mentioned earlier, like Goblin, Goblin, and Fabio Frizzi were my touchstones for that. I wanted a very kind of a score that had the synth, but also had those kind of ecclesiastical organ sounds, because there are kind of vague religious underpinnings to the movie. Very vague. But I wanted it to sound like Alien Contagion, or to sound, that's a Goblin soundtrack, or Zombie Flesh Eaters has a great Fabio Frizzi soundtrack. I wanted it to have those kind of sounds. And he came back to me with a test track, which is one of the most exciting things I've ever heard in my life. When I heard the test track, I was just going, everyone has to listen to this, it's amazing. And it's totally how I want. He's also doing our sound design as well, and sound mix, and he's going to hate us a lot. Because we didn't get all the Foley and stuff. He's going to hate me very much. Svioni, which camera did you use? I used a Blackmagic 6K, BMPCC 6K, the Pocket 6K. I also have to get this out because the wonderful Scott and Nell Sartain of Two Flicks in Cambridge lent me this delicious cine lens, which is this 21mm Zeiss cine lens. I think it's a T1.2, which made everything look way fucking sexier than it would have done. So gear chat.
Rob Myers says, I hope getting this into fests leads to big things for you two, mate. Thank you so much. And yeah, it will if you make it look really sexy and cool. So, that's
otherwise
no,
we'll have it transferred to film and burn it. Burn this.
Yeah, no, dude, you Rob, you have no idea. You're going to be a big part of this. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. There's so much goodwill, behind all of everything, and that we really appreciate.
I've got a and also again, we said it a few times already, but Bill came to me and said, you can have this money to make whatever you want, which shows an incredible amount of belief in us. And he really liked them. So I had to write a treatment, and then I had to pitch my treatment. Well, I had to pitch my treatment to Bill. So I wrote a treatment and I had to pitch it to Bill one night. And I did that, and so I sent him it first, and we had a Skype chat, and he loved it, and he was like, great, let's go. But the fact is, I didn't really have to pitch it to Bill. He'd already played, like, look, you can make whatever you want. And that was really amazing and really sweet of him to just have that belief in us. And he supported us before in a really huge way. And Bill has been so hands off. He's just kind of he just believed in the script, and he was like, hey, just get on with it, go do it. Like, I like it. you know, and Bill what I like today, Bill called me a twat today in in WhatsApp. But what I like about Bill is that Bill, and I said this to Bill at the time, he's very adept using British swears because Bill's in America. And I think perhaps there is hope for our nations if an American can call me twat. And presumably when he
if an American can learn the meaning of the word twat, he can too.
Maybe we could My assumption is that, because I mean, if in his head when he wrote it he said twat, then he can have his money back and I'm going to burn the film.
No, Bill's such a lovely guy, and he's been behind us so much through more than just this, and it was really lovely to chat to him and kind of get a sense. But yeah, no, Bill is someone who really believes in filmmakers, like up and coming filmmakers, and it's rare that someone should sort of throw their support behind.
He's produced a bunch of really interesting small projects, man. I've seen I know Transference is one he's got coming out that he was sharing on Facebook earlier. There's a few others.
He said he spoke to Toby.
Yes, Toby. Him and Toby are doing. I think he's got Toby doing some kind of script stuff for him, and I know him and my friend Tom work together on some things. So it's really amazing of Bill to just Bill caused this to exist, and Bill bought everybody's lunch, and everything. So that's I think something that we are trying to do. We were really big about. We were really big about this having high production value, and I don't want to fucking paint a target on my back with that and knocking wood. But the reason we could do something as cheaply as we did is because I already own a cine camera. I won't go into detail here because I think it would be improprietous, perhaps, but I blagged a lot. I blagged. I had people gave things to the project based on their passion for the script and just enjoying the script and wanting to work with us. And it might still be garbage, you know what I mean? But people came and gave us stuff for nothing in some really big ways. And once you've all seen it, I'll talk about that in detail. I had Mark Price is kind of, he read the treatment, then he read the script, and he's been, Mark, bless him, and he's too fucking modest to admit it, because I called him up after the first day of shooting and I talked to him about it. But Mark works with students and stuff that are learning film, and he does lectures and he does stuff. Mark mentored me through this process and made a bunch of suggestions that I took on board and used, and it's very sweet and very kind, and he didn't have to do that, and it's been really, really lovely. And he was kind of like, no, fuck it, I didn't do shit for you, don't worry about it. And it's like, he did in such a big way. He was really, really good to me, and gave me some really important advice and tips, and threw in a few kind of suggestions for shots and stuff. And he was like, look, man, if this happens, do this, and maybe you'll feel like that, and maybe you should do this. And it was really, but Bill says, don't blame me for this film. Amazing. Richard, could the follow-up feature Scottish Immortal set in Cambridge? One of the actors could be a Spanish character who is in fact Scottish. That's true. We'll call it Land Hire, I think. We're soundtracked by a band called King that must exist.
People are sort of asking when it's going to be released. So the thing is, we have to get it into festivals. So festivals tend to like to premiere stuff. So that's sort of what you have to do. You can't have released it anywhere else. Or screened it anywhere else first. So we're going to have to do that. So I would have thought, we're the main thing we're trying to aim for is Fright Fest at the moment, which submissions have to be done by, when was it, July, end of July?
Start of July.
Start of July. So we're looking at trying to get it in the Fright Fest for this year, which is going to be a push, but we can do it. And I think it's kind of good to have that gun to our head, really. But besides that, there are going to be other festivals we're going to aim for. And I've got some truck, I think, with a few festivals because I've won awards in them and stuff in the past. So I might be able to, try and get it in those. And we'll get it in. We'll get it in a few. And so we're probably going to need about a year to do that, because bearing in mind, they all run generally. I mean, COVID's messed things up, but they generally run. There's a festival circuit that runs through the year. So you kind of need to give something a year to get into those things at least, really. So we're talking probably, end of next year, I would have thought. Depending. I mean, if it gets into festivals and starts screening in them, then we can we could do something like release it on Patreon or something like that.
Yeah, I think my fantasy scenario is this. So yeah, most festivals want to premiere it. Some of them, for example,
two Kelly Brooks,
two Kelly Brooks in a McDonald's probably, next to a bourbon distillery. I'm so during a screening of RoboCop. It's whilst Judge Dredd watches. No, it's here's the thing. This is what I'd really like. So a lot of festivals. So Fright Fest, for example, their conditions are that you've not screened it in London. And you haven't broadcast it. Most of the time you broadcast it. Some of it's based on city and stuff like that. Private screenings appear to be okay. What I would really like to do, again, fantasy thing. The Computing History Centre does film screenings. It would be really beautiful to screen it at the location, give first offer tickets to Val Verdeans and see if we can sell a few others to randoms and have an evening, because we've always talked about the Val Verde meetup, right? It would be so beautiful to have the Val Verde meetup be the film screening, and then we could run a BTS video and have a Q&A and meet all the people we haven't met yet and stuff. That would be so good. That's my top draw A1 number 2 fantasy in the world after the Kelly Brook McDonald's RoboCop thing. That would be so good. Whether or not that happens. I mean, like Duncan mentioned, what we could do, because it's not broadcast. If we do it as essentially a Patreon screening, then it's paywalled, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't. Festival people wouldn't find that, because it wouldn't be, they couldn't search for it and find it. It
doesn't count as broadcast either. Here's the other thing as well. This is from a purely technical perspective. YouTube, every time I've done, so for the team, I've done a bunch of, so I did a lighting test a while back. I uploaded some footage from the movie to, I color graded it and put it in the group yesterday, our production group, for everybody to see, because I'm trying to keep everybody kind of abreast of what's going on. YouTube compresses everything and makes it look shit. Like, YouTube makes everything look like garbage, and it's just a fact. The place that filmmakers put their shit is Vimeo. So on Patreon, it would be on Vimeo in the least compressed version. And we shot it natively in 4K. Some scenes are in 6K, so I can get a bit of post-production punch. Like, it was shot in 4K DCI on a Blackmagic, so it's going to be presented. It's a 4K presentation, and you can have 4K on YouTube, but it still compressed and looks like garbage. On Vimeo, it's the uncompressed, and that's where people tend to put show reels and things like that. So if it were to be on Patreon, it would be a Vimeo link, probably with a password. We would love to we will put it on YouTube eventually, of course, when it's had its run, but it's not immediately. that's the thing. Would you like to read the Colin McLean Super Chat?
The Super Chat von Colin McLean. Scheiße, wir pupen. Mein Pupen ist gescheit, ja.
Say fantastique, as they say in France, or in English, c'est fantastic.
It's awesome you guys got a shout out from Michael Bean for your short and the channel. How did you put it off getting in touch and convincing him? I'll say very little about that, except to really give all the credit to Ellie Carley. That's her doing, and it was very cool. And I sat up till 1 a.m. editing that silly cow fart video. Just because it was just funny, and but bless him, he did that. He said that's a 2 or 3 minute just shout out video, and it was exceptionally cool, and it was a big huge surprise from Ellie. She sort of said, "Can I Skype you two on Saturday night?" And I was like, just put our baby down. I was like, okay, fine. It's Ellie. Let's just that'd be cool. And bless her. She'd sort of arranged this thing with Michael Bean. So
that was an amazing evening of just like, whoa, okay. Jesus Christ, this all feels a bit real. No, it's been a trip, man. It's been good. Ellie's fucking. It's like Michael Bean saying the name of our film. It's just like, oh my god, man, Oh my
Val
god.
Verde Broadcasting.
Val Verde, Val Verde.
Michael Bean, Val Verde Broadcasting.
Hey, motherfucker did it from his bed. That's how I respect that immensely. That's how I fucking do it.
Yeah.
Too damn right. Too fucking right.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. You know, that's one of those because Dunk, you and I idolize him so much, which is like such a great shout from Ellie. But like, we really idolize him, and that's such a cool fucking thing to have. You know what I mean? Like, he's a fucking cool dude. I still haven't seen his movie.
It's not available here, I don't think, is it? It's not.
No, I really want to see it, man. I remember him talking about when it came out. I'm sure there's some. It's probably, you know, it's not on streaming, but it'll turn up on Shudder from time to time or something. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, no, he's fucking cool, and it was lovely. Like things when he was in like Planet Terror and stuff, and The Mandalorian, man, that was great. It was like, it's a shame, you know, we won't be seeing more of that character. It's been out for ages. It's a shame we won't be seeing more of that character, but yeah, really. Hey, he's a fucking cool guy. You and I don't need to have that discussion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's just that was a really cool thing. I think it's nice as well that we've kind of like, I feel like there's this weird connection that our paths have crossed with him now more than once. It's weird to have thought we were in his presence and he didn't even realise it.
He has no idea. He just sent a message to goons that stood behind him in Birmingham once.
Two dickheads who were stealing sandwiches off a tray because they had gold wristbands or whatever, and now he's it's pretty cool, man. Like, yeah, no, really, that was really cool, and I want to find a way to send him the final film because, you know, hopefully he would get it and watch it. But I'd like to send him that just so that he knows that we actually did it. We did pull it off, and hopefully he'd like it.
Can confirm he likes the title.
Yes, indeed.
Confirm. So that's something. Yeah, that was a trip. That was really fucking cool. Yeah, exciting. I liked Deadfall, Navy SEALs, Clockstoppers, that robot one with Arnold Braunschweiger. I can't remember the name of. This is all the Bean things.
The Rock.
The Rock.
Aliens. He wasn't he up for Judge Dredd as well, and Carl Urban got it.
Yeah, need to confirm. It was that was an IMDb trivia page thing. I've not seen it anywhere else, so I'd really like to confirm that because he was perhaps because I'll keep this quick. In terms of the chronology, the Urban was the exact right age. Urban was the right age. He was kind of 40ish, which is the exact right age for early days Dredd, because Dredd ages in real time. I think Bean was a bit too old for it at the time. But I get it. He's got the kind of gnarly face and the square jaw. I can see it. See it. Yeah. I mean, hey, look, you know, Clancy's my man. Though, hey, well, you know, Carl Urban did it and rocked. But
I hear you on that. I think Clancy has the energy for it for sure.
It's that Starship Troopers performance, man. If you strip the southernness out of it, it's just like, and all of his voiceover performances as well. It's just like, oh my god, yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't think he doesn't get the same truck that Mark Hamill gets as Joker. Like Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor. Yeah, it's that kind of deep voice and stuff. Like,
I think he was a huge part of that. Like the Justice League, the Superman and Justice League cartoons. He was a massive part of, and he had some great stuff with Mark Hamill in that as well. But no, he was a huge part of that, and he was an inspired choice for that. But I suppose the difference is, Mark Hamill did a voice, like he put on a whole different persona, whereas Clancy Brown did do that, but it was much more subtle because it was really his voice.
Yeah, but, it's a bit because like I remember finding out. I remember finding out that Mark Hamill was the Joker because I watched Batman as you did in the Justice League cartoon. I remember finding out Mark Hamill was a Joker, and I was like, because I think it was him being interviewed on TV going like, "Oh well, I'm the Joker," and I was like, "No, you're not. That's absolutely not." And then he did it, and I was like, "But that's completely different." Like,
I remember seeing. Like, I remember seeing. Because you remember on the Saturday morning cartoons that as the credits would start, the screen would split and the credits would get smushed into a little thing, and you'd get up next, blah blah blah, and I remember looking at the credits once and out of the corner, and this is as a kid, but I knew Star Wars and I knew Mark Hamill, and his voice was going like the Joker, Mark Hamill, and I went, what? And I just remember thinking that can't be right. And
not the same one, not the same Mark Hamill, sure.
No, but that was all pre-internet, so I couldn't go look it up. I had no way to actually find out if that was true. But I was like,
Luke Skywalker, and I think I even said it to my mates at school. I was like, you'd get there and they'd be like, "Oh, did you watch Batman?" Yeah. Mark Hamill's like Luke Skywalker's the Joker, and they were like, "Fuck off." And,
Fuck
I
off!
probably didn't say that, but they were like, "That's not true. You're full of shit."
Fuck
And yeah, they were like, "Oh no, it must be a different person," and all that sort of stuff. And no, it's probably one of the best Jokers there is. But anyway,
yeah, people say that. I'm in agreement. It's all the way up there. It's a voice row, but I'm in it. So yeah, we done made a film. We got to do some pickups next week with Duncan to finish the scene, but I'm just confirming it with the location. Really huge thanks to the Centre for Computing History. They've been amazing. I mean, I do. They are a charity. They're a registered charity. They are preserving computing relics. They provide props for movies, which they do a lot, and really big stuff that you've all definitely watched. They're doing this amazing effort to preserve lots of really interesting stuff. It's a subject about which I'm very passionate. I've been volunteering my kind of profession as a photographer to them for a few years. So I recently did a stream. I helped them stream to a school group recently about women in computing history, which is a big thing they've got on at the moment. I've edited some YouTube videos for their channel. If you can get over to Cambridge when they reopen after COVID, that'd be great. Go check them out. Throw them a few bones. Amazing institution. It's something that I care about and passionate about, and they were very, very kind about giving us their space and letting us do whatever. They really just let us do whatever the fuck we wanted and stay as late as we wanted most of the time, and way beyond what was reasonable. Jason was just like, yeah, crack on, do this crazy shit.
Got him a box of beer. That's
Yes,
all he got in
yes,
return, and
bless
some
him.
horrible Madeira cake.
Oh, it was Madeira cake, was it?
It was Madeira cake, but it was yeah.
I didn't scrutinise the cake. We do have a cake in the film.
It was a
cake fans.
prop cake, yes, but it needed to be stale and missing about 2/3 of it. So
yes, we had to smush it, didn't we? But
Yeah.
the location were amazing, and it adds so much production value because it's, I wrote I wrote the script before I asked Jason. I kind of rudely assumed that it would be okay because again, it was kind of right within your means. But here's the thing that I did. Here's the problem that I have. I took the advice that you should take things that are available to you, and the things that were available to me was a professional actor, it was a location, and then I didn't know how most of this is going to work out. I did all the stuff you're supposed to do about making it kind of cheap, but I made it far, far too high concept. Like, it's a really quite high concept film in a way that I didn't really think through. And then like getting to it, it's like, oh my god, there's actually quite a lot going on here. This could be a train wreck. But after 3 very arduous days, and I do feel very deathy, we did good work. I'm really, really excited and happy with what went on. But yeah, I tried to approach it from let's do a cheap thing. Something I found when I was doing screenwriting classes, and Toby didn't teach me screenwriting. He was a screenwriting teacher. I did other units with Toby. Toby was I think that was with Judy. Was it Judith who taught me screenwriting? Really great teacher. I once tried to write a thing because I was working in hotels at the time I was doing my degree, and I was kind of like, I'm going to write a thing about what it's like working in a hotel. And I tried to do it, and it's like nothing happens here. I can't write those films about nothing. I can't write Napoleon Dynamite or Clerks. Like I can't write a story about people's inner lives because of whatever place I am on the autistic spectrum doesn't allow for that. But if spooky things happen in a place and blood and guts and bad stuff and references to things I like, turns out that comes out not too badly. I can kind of write something. I managed to finish the script. If I try to write about real people, their emotions and their lives, no, I can't do it. But when it's like, oh no, there needs to be an evil computer in an evil computer game, and like these characters and blah, blah, I can do that. It seems to some degree, So that was nice. I think it came out quite well. It's a very obvious. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Like I say, it's kind of a giallo-inspired techno horror movie. It's a little bit funny, a little bit fun. It's got a few themes in it, and it's got a very clear delineation of first, second, and third act. I'm not trying to do crazy act breaks. I'm not fucking David Lynch or Lars von Trier. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I want it to be a fun, funny horror movie, and that's what you're getting. I hope that's the idea. So
I think so, man. I think my big thing is like, can someone translate? Because I think you wrote a really great script, and that's half the battle. I think it's then a case of knowing that someone can pull that off and commit it to film. That's always a big concern.
but you have, and it's going to be great. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's always the thing as well when you're writing visual gags. You know, I've done things before where it's like the visual gag on the page was brilliant, but then they didn't cover it properly in the final thing, so it's lost. And it's like that's such a shame, because gag driven film is rhythmical. It's like you have to hit those beats.
You need to know your heads, because I think certain gags in this film I wrote that, because there are certain reactions where there's a bit in our favourite scene, probably it has to be done in wide. There has to be this kind of quiet incredulity that goes on for far too long, and then you cut to the reaction. You don't, you have to have the kind of, because I think that's the way to contain to create the amusing sustained eye contact in that particular scene. And the sort of distilled dipshittery. I hope we'll get there. I'm not editing yet. I tried to give myself a day off today. I ended up going into Premiere and putting all the footage in the appropriate bins by scene. Because you know what I'm like.
Fair enough. Well, that's you're just organising things. You're
that's not work. It doesn't count, does it? No, it's fine. Well, should we wrap up?
Yeah.
Should we wrap up with a quick one tonight? The thing is, James Harris says, will there be bloopers? There will be bloopers. The thing is, so Duncan very kindly filled in last week. We were going to do a stream, but I was like, dude, I've got so much to do. I did. Oh my god! In the last 7 days, I probably put about 100 hours into this. I think it's like I put like probably 80 to 100 hours with not much sleep. I've worked, which I hope pays off. But I've done loads and loads and loads. So Duncan very kindly filled in last week, so I can't do it. And then today, Duncan was kind of like, we could do yesterday you were like, we could do a thing. And I was almost kind of like, let me rest. But then I was like, no, we owe it to everybody. We haven't been here together for a couple of weeks, and so we owe it to everybody to turn up and say hi.
Yeah.
So here we are. Just let you know what's going on. We want you to alternate it, because there's a teaser on the channel right now. We've been kind of mysterious about what's going on, just because we didn't want to reveal too much. We're letting things come together. There'll be more on Patreon.
All there is on the channel is that teaser and Michael Bean.
Yes.
Yes.
Fuck knows what people made of that. So I'm going to do my series. So He Wants to Be a Filmmaker is continuing on YouTube. That stopped because of this. I'm going to segue very briefly. People were genuinely really interested to hear me talk about taxation, because that was the next one. People are like, I was joking about how boring a tax episode would be. People are like, no, seriously, I want to know how you handle your tax return as a self-employed person. So that is coming, because we're in that season. I was unable to Flanders my tax, as I was talking about so far because of this. What I'm going to do is just a quick segue off about Type G Bleed as a So You Want to Be a Filmmaker thing, and try and cover some stuff that isn't perhaps in here. I might drop in some behind the scenes footage and stuff exclusively for you to have a little look at. Nothing too revealing. And just talk about what it's like to just drop everything and go and do a narrative short. No spoilers, don't even think about it. So yes, we just wanted to pop in and check all you guys out and make sure you're doing all right. So that's it for the time being. So if that's all, if that pleases the court, I think we might fuck off. Oh, Liz very astutely has just said in the chat, we're on Instagram at TypeGBleed. Yes, we are on Instagram. We're not doing Twitter, we're not doing Facebook, because they're both awful. So you can find us on Instagram at TypeGBleed, where I'm not. Liz and Duncan are doing the Insta, but you're going to I'm saying to Liz, I just want you to authorize. You're
okay.
PR. I don't want to be in charge of authorizing stuff, because I don't want to send out the wrong message and get it wrong. Though I've given Liz access to the BTS photos, so I'm going to let you guys.
Very good.
I know, but there's exclusive content coming to Instagram, so there you go. Yeah. Should we fuck off then, mate?
Let's fuck off. Let's go and have an early night, mate.
All right, good. Works for me. I'm so tired. All right, we love you all, guys. Back on Patreon soon with exclusive content. The Q&A and the private watch party are going to happen soon. We'll get you some deets. We've just been too busy with this. We love you all. Enjoy these credits. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
народа, гордость народа, знамя земли трудовой.